Luke chapter 10 verses 25 to 37, Your words, Lord, are spirit and life. You have the words of everlasting life. There was a scholar of the law who stood up to test him and said, Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Jesus said to him, What is written in the law? How do you read it? He said in reply, You shall love the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. He replied to him, You have answered correctly, do this and you will live. But because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? Jesus replied, A man fell victim to robbers as he went down from Jerusalem to Jericho. They stripped and beat him and went off, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down that road, but when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. Likewise a Levite came to the place. And when he saw him, he passed by on the opposite side. But a Samaritan traveler who came upon him was moved with compassion at the sight. He approached the victim, poured oil and wine over his wounds and bandaged them. Then he lifted him up on his own animal, took him to an inn, and cared for him. The next day he took out 2 silver coins, and gave them to the innkeeper with the instruction, Take care of him. If you spend more than what I have given you, I shall repay you on my way back. Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim? He answered, The one who treated him with mercy. Jesus said to him, Go and do likewise. Our reading shows us the lawyer is attempting to get his ticket punched on the Heaven Express. Verse 29 says, But because he wished to justify himself, he said to Jesus, And who is my neighbor? The question is really asking, Who am I required to help? Or to whom am I required to show mercy? Jesus then answers his question with a question. Which of these 3, in your opinion, was neighbor to the robber's victim? He, the scholar, answered, The one who treated him with mercy. Jesus said to him, Go and do likewise. In other words, because the victim was so badly beaten, the priest and Levite didn't even check to see if he was dead. Not only didn't they show the traveler mercy or compassion, but they added to the traveler's suffering by allowing him to lie there and suffer. The lawyer correctly states the law when he says, You shall love the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your being, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Jesus is teaching the lawyer that love of God needs to be present before the love of neighbor. Surely if you don't love God, then love wouldn't be present in your heart, so why then would you care about your neighbor? Why do you suppose the priest and the Levite didn't help the victim? They were thinking about their own wants and needs. They wanted to adhere to the purity laws which forbade them from touching the dead if they weren't family members. If you became ritually defiled, you could not worship at the temple. If you became unclean, it placed you in the dangerous condition of being subject to divine retribution or punishment which could lead to death. How then can you be reconciled with God? Numbers chapter 19 verses 11 to 13. He who touches the dead body of any person shall be unclean 7 days. He shall cleanse himself with the water on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, and so be clean, but if he does not cleanse himself on the 3rd day and on the 7th day, he will not become clean. Whoever touches a dead person, the body of any man who has died, and does not cleanse himself, defiles the tabernacle of the Lord, and that person shall be cut off from Israel, because the water for impurity was not thrown upon him. He shall be unclean, his uncleanness is still on him. So by avoiding helping the victim of the robbers, the priest and Levite remained ritually clean, avoided the purification rites, and were allowed to worship God in the temple. Remember, you can sin by commission or omission. Sinning by commission is purposely doing something you know to be wrong. Sinning by omission is purposely not doing something you should. In this case, the priest and Levite sinned by omission because they should have helped the robbery victim. Even if he subsequently died, it would have been the right thing to do by showing their love of neighbor.